Hey everyone, and welcome to our very first episode of Chai and Chill. I'm your host Pranjali Kulkarni.
And I'm your host, Lakshmi Trivedi. This podcast is all about slowing down, sipping some chai, and having honest, unfiltered conversations about the issues that South Asian students face today, from identity and mental health to cultural representation.
Today we're starting off with the heavy but necessary topic, the rise of anti-Indian hate on social media, and how students right here at Westwood High School are experiencing and responding to it.
Over the past year, we've seen some hateful jokes and memes targeting Indian culture, and it's time to unpack what that means for us. Joining me today are two incredible guests, Ditya Shah and Smrita Tadiboina, students at Westwood who have seen how these trends affect our community. So grab your chai, get comfy, and let's dive right in. I feel like something I've seen a lot recently is how people on TikTok and on Instagram and stuff, they're just being racist to us, and they're hiding it as a joke. And I feel like that's kind of something I've seen. What about you guys? What do you guys think about it?
I think that a lot of the anti-Indian hate that's come up is, first of all, immigration laws in a lot of countries getting stricter, and that means a lot of people start believing that Indians aren't welcome immigrants. And then the second part is that I think that a lot of the cultural differences with Indians, like hygiene practices, practices with body language, how you just move through the world, it's different than Western cultures. And so Western cultures just have a hard time understanding the differences and how those differences are not necessarily a bad thing. And then third, feel like a lot of Western cultures do like taking some parts of Indian culture, like for instance turmeric drinks, those are super popular, and yoga and freckles. There's a lot of
Scandinavian scarves.
yeah, bro, right. There's so many different trends out there to take Indian stuff and make those Indian cultural things into not Indian anymore, and that's what makes it popular.
I think it's very selective, they pick and choose what they want to take from us, and then hate on whatever seems the most different or something.
I think they try to make everything not Indian. I remember I saw on TikTok some girl had a lehenga as a prom dress basically, and it was Sherry Hill, and then all the comments were guys, just let her wear it. It's not a lehenga.
But
It's
cultural
fine.
appropriation is real because they just want to take it without getting any giving any credit for it. Also, people making money off of things that are very Indian but rebranding it as a non-Indian thing to make it more trendy is very weird to me. People make probably millions off of yoga, the yoga whole business, year after year, and they probably don't credit anything related towards Indian culture with it. Ayurveda, that's also a thing that's just been completely taken and rebranded and marketed in different ways.
I think hair oiling has also been taken a lot out of context, especially when a lot of kids definitely got made fun of having slick back hair, and now it's
Right.
the clean girl
Oh my
trend.
gosh,
Exactly. The clean girl trend is so real because I remember when I was in school, I used to my mom used to put oil on my hair, and then one of my teachers in pre-K sent me back saying oh the kids don't like her hair and the smell of it, and now you see the clean girl aesthetic, which is basically the same exact things.
they're just putting oil in their hair, bro.
Yeah.
I also remember this from a couple months ago, or honestly a year ago, the great shift on TikTok where people just started humanizing Indians and actually started to find them attractive.
It feels like that almost sounds like a weird way to make someone sound attractive. The only thing about Indians that's good is that they're attractive now. It's very it's very objectifying. That's very strange.
Yeah.
Especially if you're targeting Indian girls who might have been told they're not pretty enough their entire lives. You're talking to someone who might already have insecurities and just making their mental health probably worse by telling them that they're beautiful now, but in a few years later, who knows what the next beauty standard will be.
Yeah, I do think it was pretty dehumanizing because it was if you saw a TikTok of a conventionally attractive girl, they would open it and they'd be oh my god, the great shift, the great shift. And then I know a lot of people celebrated that, and I think that's it's a bit sad that that's what it took to celebrate Indian culture for a lot of girls.
I think it's also sad that as people that were celebrating that, you're kind of relying on other people's validation to feel
Yeah, and already Indian culture puts so much emphasis on like what other people will say about you. Like Indian culture is very much based on community, and community is everything. And if the community doesn't like you, then like you have to fit in. There's no option really in the culture. It's kind of like if you don't have people like respecting you, they're gonna talk bad about you behind your back. They're gonna like think this about you. So like with the beauty standard stuff too, I feel like the beauty standard just gets worse. Even like with that whole like, oh, we have to have like our like social standing be right, and like we have to act in a certain way.
Yeah, I feel like in Indian culture it's really uncommon, or it's like not really celebrated to go against the grain. That, you know, like many people just like, they just kind of accept that, you know, like you have to live this reality that you really don't want to live.
Yeah, it's like you're forced to come to terms with it.
Because you don't know what other people are gonna say about you.
Yeah. Okay, that also reminds me of how like Indian accents and basically just like hate on Indians has become so like normalized, and out of all the cultures that's like been the one to always been like getting like taking strays and stuff like that.
Especially like with how right now like East Asian culture is pretty popular. A lot of people don't even consider India as a part of Asia, but they could talk about our East Asian counterparts as something to be really proud of. But in both scenarios, either way, like as a minority, you're still gonna be fetishized. You're still going to be like affected by a lot of racist comments and immigration laws. But the beauty standard right now has really shifted towards East Asia because of lighter skin tones, the popularity of K-pop, the wealth gap between countries, like for instance Southeast Asia, South Asia, Central Asia. Those places have been colonized. They've been recovering from like imperialism for like a while now, and so they're just overall like a little bit more poor. They're not as developed, but a lot of countries like Korea and Japan recently have become a lot more developed, and that has led to a different like shift, especially like if you talk about history. um Japan and China have a lot more history with the US. There's racist history with the US, yes, but we definitely Indians don't have the same history with the US as other minority groups do.
Yeah.
Guys, that actually also reminds me, like, okay, because of colonization by like the Portuguese and the French and like British people, I think that's kind of how like the beauty standards kind of shifted in India, and also like the whole,
That's how like our dress changed, like how our culture changed.
I feel like in India, like we kind of like start thinking more about like what the community is gonna say, and there's like a lot more judgment.
We're like upholding Victorian ideals
I
of
also
like,
feel like
you can't like show this or
we're
that.
like trying to be Western. Like we're basically trying, like all the
Yeah.
beauty standard is like fair skin, like fair everything.
It's yeah, and honestly that's like pretty common around the world too, is to like you want to look more white.
And that kind of like is a parallel to British colonization or like European colonization in general, because like they basically colonized the entire world.
And also like I think in this time and day, like it's so important to in turn like embrace your culture, especially because you're probably like very distant from like loved ones and relatives. So the time now is, it's like important to embrace it, but instead people are trying to fit like people are trying to like fit expectations of like wherever they're living. But like honestly, like in my family, we always like try to make sure like we're staying connected to our culture, even though like we're living like thousands of miles away from like India.
Yeah, because we have like a lot of privilege as people who are Indian, but we live in America compared to like people who live in India itself. But like even with that, it's still important to like remain close to our culture, because we will never be American enough, and we're never gonna be Indian enough either. And we live in that like shift, but it's kind of good in some ways because we get to have like the benefits. Yeah.
I do also feel like it's normalized for like immigrant children to be like try to get as white as possible. Like a lot of them don't speak like their mother tongue.
Right, they get
And they're, like,
embarrassed at like school.
They don't
and
really
stuff.
like celebrate the holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah. Wait, back when we were in elementary school, I feel like there was no shows or like movies with Indian characters.
Exactly, like
Back whenever we were kids,
And they always stereotype the Indian characters like Ravi and Jesse. They always stereotype them to
yeah.
have like this thick Indian accent and being like a nerdy weird guy.
right,
Like you never saw them being portrayed as like
there
a
just
positive
wasn't
person.
Much diversity in shows back then, and so we never saw ourselves represented.
based on my personal experience, like in elementary school, I used to try so hard to be white. Like, I remember getting brown, like light brown highlights in like 4th grade because I was like, okay, you guys, like I have brown hair actually. And then like I was putting like some potion in my, I was putting like some potion of like lemon water or like no, like lemon juice and like
Get fair skin? Or
no, in my eyes to get blue eyes to like bleach my eyes.
Oh my gosh, that sounds dangerous.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and then like I used to be so hairy in elementary school.
Haven't we all though?
Yeah, like I was putting on nair.
Another thing for us.
Yeah, I used to put nair on in like 5th grade on my like arms and everything, and I used to get such bad allergic reactions.
I think I remember.
And I also used to put like turmeric paste on my skin to like get like light skin.
Wait,
Oh,
I know in
no.
like middle school especially when K-pop was normalized, I think I was like, I don't know, my friends were really obsessed with them. They would always like be like, oh, this like Korean girl so pretty, this white girl so pretty, and then as soon as they saw a brown girl, they'd be like, oh.
She's ugly.
And then so I remember I
Yeah.
would just be like, I would literally wake up at like 6 a.m. to do my hair to make it as straight as possible.
Yeah.
I got highlights and they were really ugly, but
Yeah.
I got
Real.
highlights. Hey guys, it's actually really unfortunate, but like in summer I was at camp. I think summer like between freshman and sophomore,
Yeah.
and there was this guy from this like rich little private school, all
Ooh.
boys.
Oh
And
my, he sounds terrible.
yeah, and I think his name. I probably can't name drop this actually, guys. Cut out the name drop. Like,
Bleep her out.
Yeah. Anyways, he had like the biggest brown girl fetish. Like dude, I think he went for every single brown girl at this camp.
That's insane.
And he would say things. He would be like, I think I saw a screenshot of him being like, guys, like, if my girl wanted a big Indian wedding, like, that's all I want. He's like white.
He's white.
Or he's
Oh.
Hispanic, I think. Yeah. He has like a really big Indian fetish. And I feel like at the time, since I was just got out of like, finally started embracing my culture, it felt like a little validating. But now that I think about it, that guy's low-key a creep. And he got a girlfriend, an Indian girlfriend. So may she rest in peace.
I'm worried for her. No, because at some point it becomes like appreciation is one thing, but obsession over like really like shallow like materialistic things or like your outwards beauty, not like personality.
But I feel like we cling
It's
on to like
insane.
every little bit of validation, even if it's like
Yeah.
pretty dehumanizing validation.
Especially whenever you're like a teenage girl and you just want to like look pretty and you just want to like be validated, right? It's so hard. But it's like it's not good, and finding your self-confidence takes time and effort that it's hard.
I also feel like just recently in like movies and shows and even in music, we're just now starting to get represented and loved. But I feel like there's also a lot of backlash that comes with it because people are not happy about it.
People aren't happy about like the recent diversity in movies, yeah.
And I know like there was this whole thing with Avantika about her like playing Rapunzel, and then it
It
was like
it wasn't just a rumor too,
yeah, it was just like
right?
a little fan cast, and then like she got death threats, but then as soon as like that was over, they're like, oh, she would be like a fantastic mother Gothel though.
Guys,
Bro.
let's think about that.
Exactly.
It's just that people would hate to have like a movie where we finally get like an Indian main character. But already, the Disney adaptation is not following the original German folktale like well, and so I think if it's like an adaptation of a folktale, it's okay.
Piggybacking off of like Smaritha, like it's so like sad to see that people only like to see like brown and like South Asian people in villainous roles and not ever seeing them in like an actual like positive, humanizing, like good for the community.
What's insane is that like we have to make these fan casts for a reason. We're making these fan casts because there is no other representation outside of like a couple of shows that have recently come out, like Never Have I Ever. And then on top of that, it feels like why should we have to replace a German folk tale with like an Indian character anyways? Why aren't Indian stories represented? There's never been like really good representation of Indian stories or South Asian stories in media because that would just be impossible. Instead, they try to give us this representation, let me do air quotes, representation by putting us into roles that just have like no connection to our backgrounds, which can work in some places like fantasy. Okay, if you have a fantasy world and you want to have like an ambiguous brown character, you want to have a minority in some ways, I understand if you won't like mention their Indian background as much because it's a fantasy world, it's fine. But in real life situations, a lot of the time minorities are just put into roles and they have no connection to their background whatsoever. And that can be representative for some people who might feel like they're like really away from their culture, but it doesn't work well for everybody. It just we don't have that range yet.
Yeah, and also, y'all know Lara Raj from Cat's Eye?
Yeah.
You guys, the amount of hate I've seen on about her on TikTok is like so bad. Like, okay, I know she gets a lot of love and stuff, but like, literally, I've seen so many TikToks.
She's also the darkest skinned person in the group, and that's what really comes in.
They're like talking about how she's like the visual whole, and like, okay, I don't really know much about like K-pop or like girl groups, but I know that that's like a bad thing, and I don't know, like, it's so nice to have like this representation of like this really cool brown girl in mainstream media, but there's also a lot of like, she's kind of like representing all of us in a way.
Yeah, especially in music. Like pop music doesn't have a lot of Indian artists, I don't think. Not from what I've seen, yeah.
Yeah, I also like I don't know. Have seen like a lot of hate of her being like not as pretty, but I
I've
also
also
think
seen
it's
a lot
like,
of love. I've
yeah,
also seen a lot of
I
love.
also think it's like really nice to have her represent because she is like really in tune with her culture. Like she wears the bindi a lot. She like really does try to like play into like her Tamil culture. And I think it's really nice seeing a South Indian like representation as well. Because I know like
Yeah.
North India gets like a little like people like idolize North India because they're
There
technically
definitely
fairer.
is.
That's
Like,
like
a
where the
difference.
colorism comes in again. Like people favor lighter skinned people, and like
Mm-hmm.
the beauty standard is considered like, for example, like fair and lovely. Like it's in the name.
I think it's like really nice because I like just saw her ad and like she wasn't like bleached out at all. Like no one we see like Indian like celebrities even in India like they're always like pale and like that's just not how they look.
And
Yeah.
a lot of South Indian,
Yeah.
like a lot of South Indian actors are portrayed so badly, especially in North Indian films. Like
Chennai Express.
Chennai Express.
Guys. Also like the whole people with like white people as backgrounds in Bollywood music. Like
Yes.
literally just not seeing like a single brown person in the background.
Like
Because they're like they're like viewed as desirable. That's why they put them in the backgrounds.
a lot of the time it's women who have to deal with like the brunt of the beauty standard. I feel like a lot of Indian like boys and like the culture's shifting, but for like the most part a lot of Indian women are still expected to hold massively higher expectations for how they act, for like how they breathe, like how they look, everything.
Also, you guys, do you guys remember how in like I think June, I think it was, the Air India plane crashed in Ahmedabad in Gujarat, and like okay like okay, I'm from Gujarat. That happened so close to like where my family lives, and so I was like making sure like are they okay? Like was anyone like any of my relatives were they on the plane? They were. Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah.
But anyways, well, and I was like scrolling on TikTok because like I wanted to see like more about what happened and stuff because I was worried. Tell me why every single comment on Daily Mail, that news
Yeah.
thingy Daily Mail, everyone was like, guys, they just like released a stink bomb. I can't imagine how bad that stinks. Like okay, like thank goodness, like good riddance. Like
And if this came from
Guys.
like, if this plane was on any other nation in the planet, there would have been so much like sympathy and like condolences like flooding in. And
For sure.
yeah,
I also like know that there was like they like specifically were like oh Indian plane crash, but there were like 50 British like Indian people on it. And everyone was like oh like rip the British people like,
I know.
and I was
Yeah.
like bro like
And
those
I
are
feel
someone's
like,
families.
I feel like anything that happens in the global south is just considered below the attention of the world powers right now, and it's just so awful to see. But I also feel like social media has played like a really big role in heightening people's emotions for basically everything related towards racism, because like the rise of conservatism has really been seen in social media, where I feel like a lot of people do rage bait. A lot of people are like trying to just get people angry, just get people to hate on each other for no reason, when we could just be like spreading more love and trying to be like kind to each other.
Exactly, and I think it's because everyone has much more courage because they hide behind a screen.
I feel like with social media right now, people especially like okay, the algorithm on like a lot of social media pages just tries to target especially our age group, teenagers, in a weird way where they just want us to keep on scrolling. They just want to mess with our emotions and they want to mess with our like mental health so badly because that's what keeps the social media pages running. Us like scrolling for hours on end. That's what keeps them going. And so like I feel like a lot of social media pages will like definitely like try to show you a lot more like reactionary stuff, and they're like trying to push that when that's like so bad for everyone's like health.
It's very like biased, like whatever they show you, it's like literally like an eighth of the entire story. And like even like bouncing back to like how this affects like the South Asian community, they always portray like any South Asian country.
The spread of misinformation is
Street food.
Like exactly, the street food stuff makes me so mad because they show like people like putting their foot in the
like
food and like stirring it around. Like nobody does that. If you actually have been to India or any South Asian country for that matter, nobody's doing that.
They also go to like the poorest parts of India, and I'm like that like exists like everywhere. Like I'm sure if we went to like the rural North Dakota area, we could also find someone doing that instead of showing like Mumbai, like Delhi, or even like some of the bigger
anywhere
areas.
else. Yeah, as a model minority in America, it feels like people expect Indians to play this role of making like a lot of money in their IT, doctor jobs. They're supposed to be like super educated. They're supposed to be doing all of these model minority things, which includes trying to look more white because while we have all of that supposedly going on for us, we also have to deal with the racism and like the like accusations of stealing jobs.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, like there's this like whole thing of like, oh, like the immigrants are coming in and stealing our jobs. Like we are doing like kind of in our way like our duty. Like we need a job, and it's no different to anybody else immigrating from another country or like not just South Asian country. Like I think I saw a TikTok that was like, we're not taking it. Like you can come and get it. Like
it's like how can you like take someone's culture, like our culture of like yoga and our culture of like like turmeric and how we use those specific things and then never give us credit for it, but then come back and say, oh, you took my job.
I've also seen like a lot of hate. Like I think I literally saw on the internet like a little 6-year-old like Indian like Irish girl literally get like beat and like like fully just like a full hate crime, and it was like a 6-year-old.
I think it just makes me kind of like disappointed in like the future generations because like I know that our parents, they faced so much racism when they came here from India. Like okay,
and
I know
to this day, like even if they aren't saying it directly to their face, like indirectly they're facing a lot of racism.
exactly.
I feel like we also hate like within our own race. Like I feel like there's so many like South Asian like internal hate.
There's so much, and also like it kind of like goes back to, I think it all just stems from British and French and Portuguese.
At least we have had like the wins of like Never Have I Ever, and we had cricket. RRR was a big win for us.
I feel like we should start focusing on just like ways we could, you know, kind of change this, because obviously we are the next, like
We're the future
we
for
are
us.
the future, right? So I feel like we should kind of like discuss ways on how we could shift the paradigm.
Yeah, I feel like just like embracing our culture and kind of like putting it out there. Like I think like doing Garba, like hosting like the volley stuff. I think that's such a good way to get like a community together and also like tell other people like other races about our culture. Because I know like a lot of people go to Garba and stuff, but I don't think a lot of people like really know what Garba is really
I don't
for.
know what Garba is for.
Guys, Garba.
Quick little advertisement. We're having our Garba on October 25th. Show up. It's at 7 p.m. It'll be a lot of fun.
And we are really excited, so you guys should be excited too.
Yeah, I just feel like for like changing all of the stuff that's going on, there's a lot of things that we can do. We can also support like other South Asian groups, because I know that like all of the speakers here are Indian, but in order for us to like really support everyone, we can like be more informed about other cultures and just like listen and learn. Like how in Nepal recently, they had like the Gen Z protest where they have a new prime minister now. At least that worked, even though like so many lives were lost. I think that's like a really good example of how South Asians can like get together and make the world a better place.
We have a lot of power. We have a lot of power as a community. So I think we should all work together as a community to like, you know, really inspire change in the world. Because I feel like, you know, you really can't do this alone. You need a whole group to do
Community.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need each other.
I also feel like like people speaking up about it would like inspire other people to speak up about it as well.
Yeah.
Something I'd like to see is like people from our community standing up for ourselves, because I feel like that's not something we see a lot. Like
Exactly.
like we were saying before, like Indian hate is so normalized that even like South Asians ourselves are like kind of feeding into it in a way. Like whenever we hear, like it's more like whenever we hear a comment about like a racist remark, like we're more likely to take it than be like, yo, what are you saying, you know?
Exactly. I feel like as South Asians in general, like we don't really have this tendency, or we don't really have the courage to like, you know, fight back or stand up for what we believe in, or for like injustice. And I feel like that's
focused on survival.
exactly. And we're so
Parents were focused on survival. And
exactly.
So they taught us to be like that instead of thriving.
Yeah, and I think our generation is gonna be the generation to focus on thriving and making it a safer place for us, our parents, our grandparents, and also our kids.
Yeah, they gave us the opportunity to be here, and now we need to work on like actually embracing that and like forming a good community.
Yeah, using the opportunities that are given to us as people who get to live in America, who get to have like all this privilege surrounding us, like that our parents didn't have, and we get to use it to make the world a better place. It's really nice.
Thank you all for tuning in to our first episode of Chai and Chill. I'm so grateful to Ditya and Smaritha for coming in and sharing their opinions and helping us start this very much needed conversation.
And if there's one thing to take away, it's that staying quiet is never the answer. It's actually taking us a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to be so vulnerable with y'all, especially during a time where anti-Indian hate is a growing issue.
That's why it's so important for us here at SASA to make sure we do everything in our power to celebrate ourselves, but also empower this new generation of South Asian students.
Follow Westwood SASA on Instagram at Westwood_SASA to keep up with future episodes and share your own stories. We'll also be posting links to resources for students who have experienced racism or discrimination. Thank you so much for tuning in to this month's episode, and we will be back next month. Until then, stay kind, stay you, and stay tuned for more Chai Chats.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for having us.